Yesterday when we were talking about the podcast that Steve Kerr went on, and he said all that he said.
Yeah.
I was saying, something's fishy about him going on that podcast in the first place, but I couldn't quite explain exactly what I meant. But here's the 510. And I think there's something to this. Right. And I want to ask Warrior fans about this, because this isn't me talking. This is a fan on the Comcast Business text line. What a way to send a message to the young players by going on the Draymond Green podcast, the very person who derailed this season. That's from the 510 on the Comcast Business text line. 888-957-9570. There was something about Steve Kerr going on that podcast and saying what he said that I wasn't crazy about. And I couldn't help but think about, there are two allies right there, both of whom would love new contracts.
1 year left on both of them.
And I like Steve Kerr, but if I'm going to say it, and this is where I agree with Scott Hastings with the turmoil or the disarray. I do not think there are good choices right now for the Warriors. I don't like the idea of letting Draymond walk. I don't like the idea of re-signing Draymond for 3 years. I don't like either of them. Because if he leaves now, you get worse. If you sign him, he's going to get worse. So how can you get better either way? I'm all ears on that kind of conversation. How can you possibly get better if you re-sign Draymond Green, who's getting worse? And not only that, how's Draymond? Let me ask you this. Let's say the Warriors trade Jordan Poole, and let's say they extend Steve Kerr, and they extend Draymond Green. What are the next 3 years with Draymond Green here going to look like? Now, is this the Draymond Green that, you can't win a championship without? Or is it the Draymond Green who doesn't like to play in March? Or is it the Draymond Green who took the year off when his buddy Steph Curry got hurt and missed the whole year? Here's the thing. I agree. You're going to be in trouble without Draymond Green. But don't you have to look in the mirror and say, he's probably not going to play as much or play as hard or play as consistently over the next 3 years as he's played in the last 2 or 3? I mean, does anybody really believe that Draymond's going to get one more contract at let's say 3 years, $80 million, and now all of a sudden he's going to play 80 games a year? He's going to be the leader that, I don't know, you always want him to be, but he sometimes isn't. What? This is where I say there's just I don't see the way out here for the Golden State Warriors.
I do.
What is it?
You bring a therapist in.
That's not
you sign Draymond, Steiny, and you have him and Jordan Poole hash it out and get past what ails him. And maybe you can't, but I'm just listening to your passion. I'm thinking, oh, my God, he's right. But they can get better, and they can get better by getting a better version of Jordan Poole, okay? That's half the battle to me. And I can't argue with you about the number of games. I don't know why that doesn't faze or bother me, especially when we talked about yesterday this new NBA, Steiny, with watching Miami and the Lakers do what they did. It doesn't matter where you're at if the seeding, if you know you got the wherewithal and the experience. But to get better right now for the Golden State Warriors, that means not kissing Jordan Poole's ass, but making him want to be a fixture here with Draymond Green. Because you are right. If he leaves, they're not better. Now, you said something yesterday, and I thought about it on Bart. What's the downside of the sign and trade with Dre? Why couldn't they get better?
Because it's about money. It's about money more than anything. Again, if you don't do anything and Draymond Green comes back, let's say even if Draymond Green says, I'm just going to come back for my 1 year, which I'm shocked. That cost the Warriors $150 million.
Ooh.
Okay, so
damn.
you sign Draymond Green to an extension, and then you trade him. First of all, now you're taking on multiple hundreds of millions of dollars, because I was just talking about 1 year is going to cost $150.
And we're talking 3.
And you name me the trade, and this is what I mean. I'm not saying Draymond stinks. Of course he doesn't. You name me the why would you trade? Is there a trade out there for Draymond Green that's going to make you better? What team would want to acquire Draymond Green? You think about this. Okay, there's another team out there. We want Draymond Green. And we actually have a player, Golden State, who that when we send him back, he's going to be better for you than Draymond Green was. There's no player like that. I don't think.
Yeah, Dr. Phil, Steiny is needed because...
And the last thing that I want to bring up is, and I don't know, I think Dibley was stressing this yesterday, but he was absolutely right. Stop thinking, why can't we be Miami? Max Strus, 27 years old. Caleb Martin's 28. Gabe Vincent's 27. Duncan Robinson's 29. Haywood Highsmith is 27. There is a huge difference between those guys and Jonathan Kuminga, 20, Moses Moody, 21, Patrick Baldwin Jr., 20, and Jordan Poole, 23.
So why were they drafted?
We should be comparing Strus, Martin, Vincent, Highsmith to Looney and Wiggins, because that's how old they are. They're 28 years old. They're as old as Looney. They've been in the Miami system for 5 years. That's why they're contributing. That's why Looney contributes. He's been with the Warriors for six years.
So you're going to sit here and tell me that Jonathan Kuminga is a stiff, that he can't help, that you didn't see nothing?
That's right.
And I'm not saying you're on basis. You're just focused on the birth certificate.
That's right.
The bottom line is this was a championship team last year, and it had no business giving scholarships or drafting guys that couldn't contribute. So get past the birth certificate. When I say Miami to you and the people listening, I'm talking about options. Everybody should be able to. Moody can't play, and you were wrong, and you never admitted it. You said Moody wasn't good, and he ended up playing in the playoffs, and you never once said you were wrong. Kuminga can play, and Wiseman is not going to be a bust. You were wrong on Moody, and I never called Johnny. Moody contributed. He can play. This ain't about birth certificate. This is about players.
And this is about a coaching staff and culture. Don't have one proven young player
because they don't have anybody to coach them or get them ready.
Okay,
say that.
No,
it ain't the players' fault. You're going to come in here, we're older men, and rip a 20-year-old when you know he can play?
Come on.
You're better than that.
They can't
When I say Miami, the Warrior draft picks had more promise than Strus and Caleb Martin. This ain't about age. This is about why would you guys sign off on bringing these babies here that can't play?
You're giving yourself
the answer. And then the one guy that could play, I'm talking to the Warriors.
You're giving him the answer.
You ruined him because he got hit in the face and nobody got suspended for it.
You're still so naive.
I'm not naive.
You think a 20-year-old is actually going to be able to play on a championship team? To help in 5 years.
This team lost in the conference semifinals.
5 years.
This team lost in the conference semifinals.
Okay, what does that mean? So?
They didn't come sign up to play with the Warriors. They were picked to be a part of this Warrior team.
4 years in college.
That's fine.
Yeah. 4 years in college, 4 years in the pros.
My point is, nobody on the Warriors should have been non-playable, especially Moody, Kuminga, and they traded Wiseman.
Listen, they're not good enough to play on a good team. Wiseman, Moody, and Kuminga aren't good enough.
I don't believe that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then you got to fire Steve Kerr, right?
Ain't no right. I don't know. Somebody needs to. You just said it. You started the show with you didn't like the comments or you found them peculiar.
Just don't compare Strus and those guys to
I'm comparing Miami because they're doing it with the strength in numbers, which was the Warriors' mantra. Yeah. That's how I'm doing it.
And who were the numbers guys? Who were the numbers guys? Spates, Livingston, Barbosa. Okay, they were veterans, not 20-year-olds.
And my point is, who drafted the 20-year-olds, Matt?
Joe Lacob. Bob Myers.
So shame on them.
Exactly.
They got it wrong.
Come around. They did get it wrong. They drafted guys who can't play for championship teams.
No, they can play.
Oh, you know
for
they
whatever.
can play.
What do you mean? They know they can play. They drafted them.
No.
Why aren't they ready to play?
Because they're not ready.
Steiny, I'm
no
not even
pedigree.
mad.
No
Moody
pedigree.
showed you he could play. He had a role.
He's an
Steiny,
eighth,
you called
Guru. He's an eighth man. Okay,
no, I'm not arguing anything more than that. But he played.
That's great.
But what if he would have got seasoned all year long? What if Wiggins would? You know what? The more I think about it, Wiggins coming back might have messed everything up.
Oh.
Like, I'm not yelling at you. I'm frustrated. I get you. The Miami thing to me is about, hey, we trust Badoni. We trust Goo. We trust Steiny. You know why? Because you're seasoned. We put you in the pot. We turn it around, put some oil in there. We turn this oven on. We helped you grow. These Warrior, all of a sudden now we're nitpicking. Moody's supposed to come here and throw his suitcase down at 20 years old and say I'm ready to be a Western Conference All-Star. What happened to the Big Three and all that stuff? Just being around champions.
What's so hard to understand?
That the Warriors aren't good enough to say, you can't play, you can't play, you can't play. And Kuminga had a good 2 months. I'm not telling you he's Barkley.
They're not. Like, this is what I don't even have a strong opinion one way or the other. What I do have a strong opinion about is they draft, and I'm going to say,
they messed up.
Thank you. And you don't mess up twice by putting James Wiseman in a game when he can't play. He's not a pro player. You don't make up for a mistake by playing Jonathan Kuminga 25 minutes when he played in the G League, for goodness sakes. Like, that's not the way you fix the problem. It's just not.
Steiny, it's problems with an S.
Exactly.
And now the guy that you paid because you thought he went to Santa Cruz and got his groove back like Stella, now he's lost. And if I had to bet, I'm being real. It's basketball at the end of the day. But for Jordan Poole, you get an exemption, son. You get an exemption. The organization did not have your back. And I got to show up to work and have now my coach is on this dude's podcast talking about guys were, hell yeah, I was sulking.
Bottom line is the veteran core wanted help immediately. The veteran core wanted veterans.
Yep.
Instead, Lacob and maybe Myers, I don't know. Instead, the Warriors shoved James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, and Moody down the veterans' throats. And guess what? They couldn't play. They weren't good enough at 20 years old. No kidding. No kidding. No kidding.
So what do you do now? You're screwed.
That's right.
And you
don't get a do-over.
You never get mad at me.
You
but
don't
last
get
night,
a do-over.
We were talking about the draft, and you want me to get excited for another youngster coming in here? Why would anybody get excited about another youngster coming to a culture that...
Maybe change the direction of your organization. Where you can actually start to develop players without the obligation of thinking you can win a title.
On the other side, please tell me how you would do that or attempt to do that.
You can't do it. That's my point. It's over. You can't do it. You have to make hard choices, none of which are going to be great.